So imagine you're a singer who just found the secret formula to good music. So long as you follow the instructions of the formula to a T, any music you make, no matter the genre, will be among the best. Now, it may not be liked by everyone, but it will be damn near perfect. Then you start making music as you planned, and you release it, and you get recognition, and soon enough, your music gets loved all around the world. But the obvious plot twist here is that people don't like your music for its deep lyrics, the catchy rhythm, nor for the fact that it's damn near revolutionary. No, people, the entire world even, like your music simply because of the chorus, let's say, which isn't even entirely sung by you, but the backup singers. Kind of like that song Love Me, Not a lot of people know the lyrics following that. And then you find yourself at a crossroad. On one path, you can continue making music the way you are making it, all according to the secret formula, but you have to accept the fact that people, the majority of them, will never see your work for its true value. And on the other hand, you can lean into the choruses, catering your songs to the fans' taste. And you know what? The people will love it all the more. But by doing so, you will no longer be following the secret recipe to good music. And the musician in this analogy chose to go with the choruses, which then brings us to JJK. Now, it's no secret that anime as a whole just has bad writing. Those who know. But for those who don't know, let's just say that most anime is littered with tropes that don't necessarily enhance the story one bit, especially since not choosing that route would have had a better impact on the story. Now, back to JJK. It's no secret that JJK is one of the best new gen animes, if not the best, and how much influence it has on the anime community, even outside of that, is something I'd say maybe only Dragon Ball has the luxury of gloating about. But I wish to speak about its writing. Now, anime has this, let's just say, familiar way of approaching events, plot twist, and just overall writing. And even some shows that don't necessarily follow this familiar way of doing things eventually do it the anime way. But the first time I watched JJK, I was surprised. From the characters to showing the way that they approach things, I'll admit, I was really surprised by its non anime approach, or rather, unfamiliar approach. And it was something I advocated for because it was, as I said, revolutionary. But as JJK began to gain some traction for its choruses, let's say, the more I felt like it began to lose that unique approach that it once had. Granted, it's an anime, but again, it had something unique going for itself. Now, let me explain myself before people think that I'm just speaking out of my ass. Objectively speaking, there are many rules to writing a good story, and everything is so complicated. Well, I won't say complicated, it's just not simple. But the first rule every writer learns, the writing 101, if you will, is to show and not tell. Like, if you want to get your message across, don't outright tell the audience. Just trust that they will pick up on it. For example, if a character loses someone very dear to them, the required approach should be subtle, but they. Whereas the enemy of doing things is the complete opposite. And this is just one example. In fact, I'm currently reading this manga, and the main character, who I'd say isn't a trusting person because of trauma, meets this person who you can already tell that it's going to be his companion. But how does the author make it so that the main character trusts him? Well, while the main character is having a serious fight, they have the other character jump in the middle of the attack to protect the main character, which could have killed him, mind you. And also, the main character didn't even need it. And this literally reduces the credibility of the story moving forward. Because I know that from here on out, the author is going to use this lazy way of doing things. But that's how the story goes, and the main character trusts him, I guess, and it leads to the next arc. Predictable. But that's my point. Most anime follow this lazy way of doing things, but JJK didn't follow these steps. And it was for that reason that I just loved it. Now, like I said, it has its shortcomings, and there could be different reasons to this, like the studio's fault. But even Gege himself, the artist, the person who wrote the story, I feel is conforming. Because if you completely read the manga, it feels like it was written by two different people. The first one had his way of doing things. His focus was on plot and making the story flow naturally. And the second author, whose focus was on fight scenes, but tries to imitate that first author by copying his handwriting a bit. But if you're quite perceptive, you notice the nuances. And the reason why I blame the fight scenes is look at all the manga fights compared to the anime ones, and maybe you can put the popularity poll besides them and see if there's a correlation. And it is the reason why I think that they have gotten into Gege's head. Because Look at the new series, JJK Modulo, 21 chapters in, and we've had already had more fights compared to JJK. And there's currently a fight that decides the fate of the world, with a character even stronger than Sukuna. And yes, my guy, seeing this new chapter, even though he's my goat, I can admit that it's getting washed. But my biggest case to this argument is this. I said it in one of my previous videos. Anime has this very, very lazy way of doing things that I just hate to a T. And that's misunderstandings. Like, the reason why Maharaga versus Dabura even happens is because of a fucking misunderstanding. Imagine something only unskilled written animes would use is now being used by JJK. Like, come on, my guy, come on. And when I saw this, I felt disappointed as fuck. Now, mind you, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you believe, but sequels are infamous for being difficult to write. They are extremely difficult. Because in the previous story, everything was concluded and the character was fully grown. Most writers will tell you that the quality of the story should drop afterwards, should there be a following story to it. Or at the very least, the story will change. But one way of circumventing this and going around it is with a time skip. And you can choose to use the same characters, kind of like Ren in Aliens, or use a new cast of characters. And from there, it's supposed to be smooth sailing. What I'm saying is that JJK had an advantage, or as the freedom people would say, an alley-oop, but JJK sold. But those are just my thoughts and opinions. And as one fan said, Gege is a talent with tunnel vision. But now I feel like the talent isn't even being used properly. Funny how this is giving Potential Man energy. Anyway, I don't know, man. This is just me yapping, and maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe Gary just didn't have the skills that I'm crediting him with. Or again, maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe the studio is just pressuring him a lot. Or again, maybe I'm wrong. Also, I'm not saying that the studio is ruining things and isn't improving the show artistically. In fact, the studio does its parts very well. Like for example, that scene where Gato is talking to Gojo. First up, the parallels done right. I love me a good parallel. I love those. And the fact that every time they spoke, a car passed on to the other side as if they were attacking each other, I just love that. And my guy, it's the little things again, the little things, the nuances. And the studio, no doubt, put an effort into the fight scenes. I mean, I love good fight scenes as much as the next person. But I love necessary fight scenes. That's just part of the story. That's natural. As opposed to the battle power fantasy or wish fulfillment nonsense, mind you. Again, how they made a speedster, my guy. Making a speedster lose will never, ever. Okay, in some rare cases. But making a speedster lose, like, my guy, come on. Come on. That's insane to me. It shows us how much the writers okay. How much the writers didn't think, but even if they did think about it, they didn't try a different approach to it. But anyway, I'm just yapping, and I hope to drop this on the 11th of February since it's my birthday and shit. And I'm turning 24, and like Aries said, I'm getting older and not any younger.
I initially wanted to do a Cartoon Network video, but it is what it is, and you will be seeing me in the next video if you choose to watch the next video. Don't know why people get that wrong, because anyway, that's all, folks. What's the matter to say that? Legally,